Okay, hello and welcome to How to Work Out a Song Without Knowing Too Much About Musical Theory or Guitars in General. It's a working title, it's maybe a bit too long. But anyway, I thought it'd be interesting to show a video of how I used to work out songs in the olden days before I knew too much about, the guitar, chord shapes, scales, or any kind of theory like that. So I mainly want to show that you don't necessarily need that to at least have a go at learning songs. I think, using process of elimination, trial and error, and a good dedication of time, I think anyone should be able to at least, you know, get to a stage where they're playing something which sounds close. It might not necessarily be exactly how the artist plays, but if it's close enough, I think that's good for your playing, your motivation, and training your ear. Of course, I would always encourage you to learn musical theory because it's always going to help with stuff like this. But I understand in the early days, it can be quite a daunting thing to try and learn everything like through a textbook. And plus, I think having a kind of practical thing like this helps reinforce this theory. The theory then helps reinforce the practical side, and it just keeps going in a circle. And I think that's always good for learning. So of course, I've got a Def Leppard song I haven't done yet, and I'm going to be showing how I'm going to be working out these parts here. I'm going to try and do it as if I've never played the guitar before. Okay, so let's see how that turns out. Okay, so the song we're looking at here is Battle of My Own off the latest album, the self-titled album, or as I've put, the Def Leppard 2015 album. Just in case they record another self-titled album, could happen. Also got a text editor here with just a blank tab I've written up. Now you may notice that I'm in standard tuning here. That's what these letters indicate. And some of you may know that, of course, Def Leppard these days, they tune half a step down from standard. Well, I'm going to pretend I don't know that, and I'm going to show you how I can come to that conclusion myself by trying to work out this song. Okay? Now, I'm playing an acoustic guitar, mainly because it's, I want it to be louder so the mic can pick it up, but conveniently enough, there's an acoustic guitar in this song as well. So that's great. Right, so let's have a listen and see what we want to try and figure out first. Okay, so let's stop there. I mean, that intro there, nice little repeating pattern, or riff as you call it, or ostinato if you're a theory buff. But yeah, that's a great place to start. It's just 4 repeating set of notes there. Yeah, so what we want to do now is we want to get to the point where we can sing that riff to ourselves in our head or out loud or whatever, just so we have it ingrained in our head. Because then it's always going to be easier to try and translate that on the guitar when we have the reference of it in our head. Because then we'll be able to go, well, no, that doesn't quite sound right when we start doing like a trial and error process. Okay, so let's have another little listen. Okay, so we've heard that riff 6 times already. I'm hearing it in my head now pretty clear. The rhythm of it, pretty straightforward. We've got the rhythm down, we're halfway there, already living on a prayer. Let's get to the notes. Now, if we can sing the notes to ourselves in our head, that's great. Sometimes it's quite hard to translate that on the fretboard all at once, so you might want to break it down into each single note, or a couple of notes, or or 3 or 4 little groupings. But let's think of that riff there. If we take the opening 3 notes, it goes do 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 do. It's they're all going in one motion. Starts out pretty low and it goes up. The notes go higher. So let's logically think about this and use trial and error and a process of elimination. Those notes sound very low. So why don't we start on the lowest string we have and see if we can find those notes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for that first note and I'm just going to play the open E string. Alright, let's think about that riff again. Do do do. maybe not quite there. Doesn't sound too far off though. But let's try and play it. Let's play that open note along with the riff and see if it sounds like it's a part of the riff. No, it's definitely not part of that. It's sounding very jarring there. Okay, so let's go up a note. Let's go to the first of the low E strings. Let's do the same again. Hear that? It was sounding a part of it. I think that's the first note there. Right, let's think about this. If that's our first note, we know the next note is going to go up. Now, we can either go up to here, the second fret. That's sounding pretty good, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's also see what it sounds like going up to the third fret. That's maybe not sounding as good. So what we'll do is we'll see what this sounds like. We'll try and play along. Yeah, I think that's sounding close. Great, we've got first two notes here. So after that second note, think about it in the head. Bam, 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 bam. We're going up again. So let's find another note higher than this second fret to go up to. Now, if you knew musical theory, you'd think to yourself, well, this is a bit unusual, going up chromatically, basically one note at a time. It's a bit unusual to find that. But of course, if you don't know musical theory, you might think, oh, yeah, let's try this. This might work. But then you'll soon come to the conclusion that it might not. But let's see how it sounds. It's not doing it for me. It sounds a little bit too low. So let's go up to the fourth fret. That's sounding good. I'm liking that. So let's play it with the track as well, just to see if we're in there. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So there we go. First three notes. Right. Of course, you can maybe hear that it sounds like it's not just single notes getting played there. It sounds like chords. And with chords, I'm sure you don't need a master's degree in theory to know that the chords, of course, is more than one note playing together. Creates a chord. Of course, there's many ways you can create chords. And unfortunately, knowing what chord is the right chord is kind of like a process of elimination, and it's only when you start playing chords more and more that you realize, yeah, it sounds like this sort of chord or that sort of chord, you eventually come across, once you start playing a lot of rock, that a lot of times they just use fifth chords or power chords. That note there, just playing that chord there. That's a power chord. But of course, if you think, well, what other notes can we play along with that one in a chord shape if we're just using those two strings, the E and A? Let's do that. Doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound too wrong, but doesn't sound right. What about this? Again, alright sounding chord, but not what we're looking for. Let's try this one. Sounds a bit disjointed. Not what we're looking for. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds nice and clean and chord-like. So let's settle on that. Let's do the same. Let's just assume. Let's get ahead of ourselves and assume that the others are going to follow that same pattern. So this chord is like one string up and 2 frets along. So let's do the same for here. 1, 3 becomes 2 and 4, becomes 4 and 6. See what it sounds like. I'm I'm liking the sound of that. Let's play it along with the track to see. I think we've got it. So of course, if you know more about chords, you might go along and think, well, a power chord, you could play the octave above it as well, which would be this. But not necessarily needed at the moment, so let's just stick with what we have. Okay, so we have our first three notes, and we have decided that they are chords, and we have found chords that sound pretty good. Now let's find the fourth note. Let's think about the riff in our head. After this third note, it sounds like it goes down. Let's have a listen again. Yeah, it sounds like it goes down. So let's go down note wise after this fourth fretted chord. So let's go back down to 2 because we're already playing that, and we'll make it a chord again as well. That doesn't sound good, so let's try going down to 1. No, I don't think that sounds like what it sounds like in my head. So let's go to the open. Again, that doesn't sound right, but I've run out of space here. I can't go any lower. The only way I could go lower is if I detune the guitar. So hey, hang on a minute. Maybe they're playing in a lower tuning. So let's tune down half a step and see what this sounds like. Okay, so I've tuned the guitar down half a step, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this lowercase b against these notes. This means flat. You have sharps and flats. Lowercase b means flat. So we're half a step down. Of course, let's just pretend that this is all okay now. Let's just play what we've written there. That doesn't sound right. Of course, if we go half a step down. By the way, we call it half a step because you're going down a semitone. A tone is a full step, and a tone is actually 2 frets on the guitar. A semitone is 1 fret, and a semitone is half a step. So that's why we call it half a step. So if we're going down half a step, that means we need to put these notes up half a step. So 1, 3 becomes 2, 4. It's going to get confusing here. 2, 4 becomes 3, 5. 4, 6 becomes 5, 7. And then we have this last chord, which we'll keep there because this is where we want to actually try now. This is the next chord we're going to try in this sequence. So let's see what this sounds like. I think we've got it. I think it's only a half step down tuning wise, and I think we've got the note there. Let's play it with the track just to make sure. Great, so we've solved the dilemma there of the tuning. Now, you may be thinking, what if you don't have a song which plays like any kind of open strings? How are you going to know that you need to tune down? And the answer is, really, you just have to make an assumption on some things. Sometimes you might not know for sure. But for instance, if you're playing a song and you find yourself going around these frets more often, Guitars usually like to stick in certain chords because you can use the open strings to highlight these chords, and you can't do that with chords around these frets like 6 and 4. The kind of, you know, if you find you're playing that, what you might find instead is that you really want to be doing this in a tuning down. Okay, so I just want to make a little correction on the video that I've just noticed here. It's me getting confused with all this down tuning nonsense. But of course, so when I say you're playing these notes in standard tuning, when you down tune, they of course become these notes because you go up the way, obviously. But the point still stands in that the kind of odd fretted, the odd numbered frets, I should say, are the ones that work best with the open chords. So they're the ones you want to use, especially 7, 5, and 3. So the 6th and 4th frets in this kind of position goes into that, and then of course the frets that go like this, 4 to 2, would then go into the frets I mentioned on the video, which would be the 5 and the 3, and then the 3 down here. Okay, just want to make that correction there. I hope I've not confused you anymore. Yeah, so back to the video. You know, the 5 and the 3 there, that's a D note, that's a C note, that's a G note. You can all play them on open strings, you know, nice big chords. Whereas these notes here, 6, 4, 4, that's like, you know, it's an E flat, D flat, and an A flat, if you're just thinking in flats. You know, sure, you could play them like bar chords, but you know, it may suggest that actually it's a tuned down guitar. Okay, so that's maybe one way to try and figure out if something's down tuned, but you're not playing any kind of open strings. I mean, I did it on one of my videos. I think it's all about believing. I just played it in standard tuning because I found I didn't have to use any open strings. I mean, the band still might use open strings, but I didn't feel like any of the chords or riffs depended on them, you know. But all that kind of stuff comes with experience, you know. You don't get too bogged up on it. You know, a lot of these things here come with experience. You know, once you've learned that, you know, I'm using this chord more often, well, that's the chord I'm going to go to when I'm trying to work out a song. You know, like for instance, if I never learned something like Too Late for Love, like the B section where it's like these type of chords, major, third, minor, third chords. If I was just showing one here, what I was playing there, that was 10 here and 9, and then the next one was 9 and 7. You know, I learned those chords from tabs when I was younger, so then I became familiar with those types of chords. And of course, when I was learning other Leppard songs on my own, when I came across a chord which wasn't a normal power chord like we see above here, I was thinking, oh well, it sounds like a chord. Well, what other chords do I know that I can try out? And it's like, well, let's try some of these shapes. And then you find out, oh yeah, they're using something like that. And then it gets ingrained in your head how they sound, and then, you know, so it's all like a big snowballing effect, which comes with doing stuff like this more often. Yeah. So let's go back to the riff now. Let's have a listen again. Refresh our heads. Okay, so at the end, we've got the first 4 chords. Then we have a really high chord after that last one. So why don't we, for the sake of it, just stay on the lowest string and see how far up we can go, and see if we can actually find that note there. So we know it's definitely higher than the 5th fret, which is what we're using. So let's start on the 6th fret and see if that's the chord. So we want do do do. Does 6th fret sound like that note? Sounds too low. Let's go up to 7. Sounds too low. Let's go up to 8. Sounds too low again. Now you might think here, well, I'm going to make an assumption and just jump up 2 frets this time. Instead of trying 9, I'm going to assume that's going to not be the note. I'm going to jump to 10. Still not there. Let's jump up again to 12. Hey, there we have it. Of course, let's pretend we went to 11 and then jumped to 13. Would we be able to recognize that as too high? Yeah, I think that's obviously too high. So we've settled. We're on 12, and we know it's like a chord. So it'd be something like that. Great, we've got the notes there. That's fine. You think, yeah, I've worked it out. But, you might think to yourself, well, do I really want to jump up that much on the fretboard? Can I play that chord anywhere else? The answer is yes, of course. What you may learn in the early days when you're trying to tune your guitar is you might learn like this, where you get the low E in tune, and then what you do is you play the 5th of that low E, and the 5th should equal the open of the A. So then, you start getting that pattern, and it kind of goes up like that. The 5th of the A equals the open of the D, and so forth. Of course, guitars don't like being too easy, so once you get to the G and B, it stops going up in intervals of fourths or fifths. So the 4th of the G then equals the open of the B, and then the 5th of the B, we're back to 5 again, and that equals the open of the E. So we know how this pattern goes. So we know that the E string is 5 frets lower than the A string. So let's use that theory that we've learned there here. So what's 12 minus 5? It's 7. So the 7th fret of the A should equal the 12th of the E. So let's make that a chord as well. Do the same rule, go up a string, go up 2 frets. And let's see what this sounds like. Sounds good. It sounds pretty comfortable as well, not having to go too high. But let's, for the sake of it, think, well, that again is maybe too high. So let's see if we can start it on the D string. So we do the same thing again. We think, oh, well, we're doing it on 7th fret, so let's take off 5 frets and move up a string. So we'll start on the 2nd fret of the D and make it a chord like the others, the 5th chord, up a string, up 2 frets. So let's see what this sounds like. Sounds good. Of course, you'll learn through experience how playing lower down on the neck sounds different than playing higher up, and you'll get a feel for what strings you feel more comfortable playing on and so forth. So in situations like this, it's probably more down to what's comfortable for you to play. I kind of like playing that 7th fret of the A. I'm not having to jump too many strings to get there, so I'm going to keep it like that. And the notes look offset, but that doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. We've got that opening riff down. You might think, yeah, it's maybe taking a bit longer than maybe you would have thought it should, but when you're starting out, taking this long is perfectly fine. You'll find out when you start doing this thing more and you start getting it right, that's going to take less and less time, and you'll be able to work out stuff a lot quicker. Okay, so we've got that first riff down. let's now move on to the next one. Right, so the next riff, let's see how that sounds. I think we're getting into the verse here.
Darkness falling, midnight calling, it's a full moon warning, the devil's dawning, I gotta get...
Okay, I think we can stop there and make an assumption on how it goes. It seems to at least start with the same set of notes here. So let's get it in our head now, what it sounds like.
Darkness falling.
Right, let's just take that first one there. So it goes do do do, something like that. Let's just focus on those first three notes. Let's have a listen again.
Darkness falling.
Yeah. Bum bum bum. Okay. So, process of elimination again. Trial and error. Let's go for it. Now, you don't want to start using other strings too quickly, or you think you don't want to jump around too much. You could just stay on the low E string and think, I'm going to go as high as I can, see if I can find it. Then, do what we did before with that last chord in the first riff. If we find it on the low E string, great. We can then think, well, is it comfortable to play here? If not, let's move to the A string. Comfortable to play there. If not, let's move to the D string. So, let's try that again. That first note, sounded pretty high. So let's start on the fifth fret, because we know it's not low, but we know it's high. But we don't know how high yet. So let's start on the fifth fret. So now I might think to myself, is that how it sounds in my head? I'm not sure. I might get a little bit confused here. I'm lose my mind trying to figure it out. But like we did before, let's play that note over the riff and see if it clashes.
Darkness falling, midnight call.
Yeah, it sounded too low. Got to put it in there, so I was playing that note there. So let's go up, and let's go up 2 frets for the hell of it. Bum, bum, bum. I still think it's too low, but we're going to play along with it anyway.
Darkness falling.
Yeah, too low again. So let's go up 2 frets. That's sounding good in my head. It's resonating. Let's play along.
Darkness falling.
Yeah, you just feel it there when you play it. That's the note we're going for. So we found out that's the note there. Is it too high to play? Probably is. So let's take 5 off, move it up a string. 4th fret. Okay, so we know now that it's on it's like a descending kind of riff. So like we did before, we could start saying, okay, we go 4 to 3, 4 to 2, 4 to 1, whatever. But let's be a little bit more wise this time. Let's hit a note that we've already hit before after this 4th fret. So let's go from the 4th to the next closest one down, which would be the 5th fret. That's the next highest out of these without going too high. So let's go from the 4th to the 5th fret here and see what that sounds like. I don't think that sounds right, so let's instead skip that and go and try the 3rd fret. I think that sounds a little better. Let's play along.
Darkness falling, midnight call.
Sounds good. Of course, what you may hear there is that note gets it doesn't kind of stay. It gets slightly bent upwards. Oh, I just randomly played the open E there. That sounds like the next note there. Hey, there you go. So you've just stumbled upon the next note without even knowing it. Sometimes that's gonna happen. But yeah, that third fret there, we hear it's kind of bending. Once again, if you never knew about bending a string, then it's not something you could do to, realize, oh, that's how to make that sound, by just bending it a little. It might just be from either mucking about on a guitar or looking at another tab or seeing someone playing, seeing, oh, they're bending the string. Well, what does that do? Well, it kind of increases the pitch. And then, once you get the experience of how it sounds, what it looks like, you can then kind of deduce that, yeah, this is what's going on here. That little bending note sounds like a country riff I'd play. So let's use that technique here. Well, do you know it works? I have the 3 notes. So let's play along just to make sure, because we stumbled upon the last note and it sounded good in our ears, but let's just make sure.
Midnight calling, it's a full moon warning, the devil's dawning.
Cool. So let's go to the riff, the note after this part of the riff. It goes high again. So let's do what we did before. Let's go to a note we've already used previously. And the only one higher than this 4th fret that we've used so far is this 7th fret of the A. So let's go there afterwards and see what that sounds like. That sounds good. Great. I think I can conclude that that's where we go. Of course, we might think it might be better to play somewhere else, but we won't jump the gun just yet. We're happy that we found the note. Let's find the next one. Let's remind ourselves how that riff sounds.
Darkness falling.
Okay, so we can hear that after that 7th note, it goes down and it sounds like it comes back up again for those last 2 notes. So, since it worked out for us last time to first try a note we've used before, let's go to this 4th fretted note again after the 7th and see what that sounds like. I think that sounds pretty good. Okay, so we know it goes up from this note, so let's just go up in steps again, because we know it shouldn't go back up to the 7th note, so we're going to have to look for a note we haven't played yet. So let's first of all try this 5th fretted note. Hey, there we go, first time. Of course, once you start playing more, you'll begin to get an ear for how certain intervals sound, and intervals are basically the space between notes. So, if you had a pretty good ear, you might think to yourself, well, those last 2 notes, that kind of sounds like the way the opening theme of Jaws sounds. That it sounds like it's that kind of interval. By the way, I was playing 0 and 1 there, so that sounds like that kind of interval. It's just one fret between them. So I'll try that, and what do you know? It turns out it's the right frets, and you will find that the more you play, you'll find that you'll get an ear for how certain things sound, the space between notes, and that again will also help you with chords as well. You'll hear that a chord which is shaped like this will give you a major sound. One shaped like this will give you a minor, because those are major thirds and minor thirds. So you'll then conclude that if you're playing a bit of music, it's like, oh, this chord sounds sad. Well, I'll make sure to play something which has that kind of interval in there, and so forth. But again, like I said before, this all comes with experience, so you don't have to worry too much about not hearing these things first time. Okay, so this riff, let's just play it all again. Cool, let's play along with the track just to cement it again and make sure it's all good.
Darkness falling, midnight calling.
But of course you hear there, second time round, it does something different. So I'm going to write in the stuff it does do, that's the same, that's the right grammar. And I think it does go up to the 7th fret, but let's hear how it sounds.
Darkness falling, midnight calling.
Ah, you know what, that sounds a little bit like the ending of the first riff we looked at. So you know what, let's jump the gun and say it does that. Like I say, I sometimes think there's, jumping the guns phrase, I guess it's normally used in a negative way, and I guess it can be used negatively in this way. But I don't think there's anything wrong in being ambitious when you're trying to figure something out, because in your head you're using logic, so it's it might not be right, and you learn from it, but sometimes it might be right, and then of course it's good for your motivation. So let's play this and see how it sounds in our head. Of course that should be kind of 3 strums there, but you'll get the idea with 2. So there we go. We now have that kind of verse rhythm down. So let's play through what we know all together, the intro and then this, and see how it sounds. Great, sound pretty good. Right, okay, I think we're going to stop there because I'm running out of time. I didn't think it'd take this long. But I hope this video has been beneficial, or at least a little insightful on how you can maybe approach learning songs by yourself. I'd like to come back and finish this song off because I think the pre-chorus uses some unconventional chords, so I think that'd be good to look at. Also, if there's any interest, I think it'd be cool to maybe do something like this for solo work or anything else that's a bit more intricate, just to maybe show a couple more techniques you can do to try and find the best hand positions and the best kind of shapes for some of the more fast and tricky stuff. But until then, though, I hope this has been enjoyable. Cheers.